When we ask students to write in school, we often reduce writing to something very simple. It's all about just proofreading and getting it correct. My mother's generation, that's all I cared about, was just making sure you were correct. Sometimes we just make it about writing to a 5-paragraph format or just passing a test. I think we need to talk to students more about the why of writing, why we write. I start off my school year with my students talking about a very simple thing. We write on the board the words, why write? And then we brainstorm real-life reasons why writing matters, real-life things that they might need to write. And we talk about all kinds of reasons why writing matters more than for just school. For starters, it's real practical. Writing, if you've ever actually tried it, and especially if you're under a little pressure, is about generating a lot of ideas extremely fast. The example I use with my students is, if you are working construction, one of the jobs many students say, well, I'll work construction, I'll never have to write. But you'll always have to generate ideas fast. So if you're working construction and one of your co-workers is hanging from a girder 90 feet up above the ground, you can't stand there going, I'll think of a way to, sorry. I was doing that in class one time and somebody on the front row made a sound effect. It was perfect. So just generating a lot of ideas fast is a writing skill, but it's useful even when you're not writing. Another big thing is that writing, if you're doing it right, taps into students' enthusiasms and their frustrations. One of the things that I tell my students is what Ray Bradbury says in one of his essays. You should write about what you love, and you should write about what you hate. And so I have my students write frustration and enthusiasm maps. In the enthusiasm map, they put their name in the center, and then they write and connect about all of the different things that frustrate them, that enthuse them, things that they love, be it food or a hobby or a sport or a type of music or a subject at school, all of the things that enthuse them. The frustration map is simply their name on the middle of a piece of paper and all the things that bug them and frustrate them. This gives them lots of things to write about. So you may ask, why does that matter, tapping into what they love and what they hate? Tapping into students' passions and interests can lead them to their future careers. A lot of students don't actually know what they're interested in until you ask them to think about it and write it down. And writing about what you're enthused about, one of the essays my students are working on right now is an enthusiasm essay about something they love, may lead them to their future career. A lot of students need guidance like that. Having employees who are doing what they feel like they were born to do because they've discovered what their enthusiasm is something any company would want. Too many students don't know what they're interested in. One of the things that I've noticed with low-performing students is there's very little on their enthusiasm map. It's not so much that they're not smart, it's that they lack enthusiasms. They're not interested in that many things, and I think one of our tasks at school is to get them more interested in things and have more enthusiasms. When you tap into positive and negative experiences, that's a very powerful thing for when you go into business, because if you are going to create positive experiences for your customers and avoid negative ones, it helps to think about the experiences you've had. If you've had a positive experience with a service, a product, a theme park, a restaurant, whatever it is, you remember what that was like, and you remember what made it positive. If you've had a negative experience with a restaurant or a theme park or a product or a service, you remember that as well. And when you go to do your job and try to make your service or product the best it can be, you're going to remember those experiences, either negative or positive, and try to either avoid the negative or create the positive. You can't make your products and services better in a vacuum or with a spreadsheet of statistics alone. You need to tap into your experiences and remember what good service or bad service looked like or felt like and sounded like, so you can avoid the bad and promote the good. Another thing that writing is good for, even that most looked down on form of writing right now, poetry, is that it teaches observational skills. And I can't think of a business that wouldn't benefit from having employees who have good observational skills. It's one thing to be observant about what other people observed, writing about what other people wrote. It's another thing to be observant about real life. People, places, sights, sounds, smells, relationships, causes and effects. Short of drawing and painting, nothing makes you more observant about the world around you in all its detail than writing does, and no form of writing makes you more observant than poetry. Another thing that writing teaches is creativity, which from what I have read and from what I've seen is one of the top skills of the 21st century. Creative writing, big surprise, teaches you to be creative. That should be pretty obvious. During the summer at Stetson University, I teach at their High Achieving Talented Students program, HATS, and I have students write a novel in 3 days. Students from 4th grade through 11th grade get together, cook up a plot line, put it all together, chop it into chapters. Each person takes a chapter and they jigsaw the whole thing together. As they're writing, even though this is creative writing, they are dealing with irony, theme, plot lines, characterization, all the things that a grown-up novelist does, and they have to work as a team to make it all fit together. Creativity isn't just about making things up as you go. It's not just, oh, you're being creative because you wrote a story about a talking teapot and a killer whale and a zebra. It's not anything goes. Every time students had to make a decision about what was going to happen in this novel, you had to have reasons for it. And so creativity, in this sense, is extremely rigorous and extremely difficult. It was a really high order of thinking that was going on. And many businesses, when they're coming up with ideas for new products or ways to advertise those products, have to be creative. Another aspect of writing that's extremely useful, including with personal and creative writing, is just the idea of exploring ideas. When students write science fiction, which is sometimes looked down on, they're dealing with hypothetical scenarios. What would happen if? Those famous words, what if? And great innovations and inventions in every field, but especially engineering, science, mathematics, have been spurred by people asking that simple question, what if? Many modern conveniences that we take for granted were first created because somebody asked that question. A lot of the reading I've been doing lately has been looking at the fact that what businesses need is people who have original insights. And you don't get original insights from just writing about what somebody else wrote. You get original insights from your own life and from being observant, the things that I've talked about, and looking at things from a different angle. So whenever you are writing, having original ideas, having original insights is one of the chief things people look for. Whenever I read a book, be it fiction or nonfiction, one of the things that I'm looking for is that the writer has original insights about life, new things to say that make me think about my relationships, my job, my life in a different way. I think sometimes that what we're doing in schools, by always giving them a prefabricated topic, always making them write about something else that they read, leads to them not wanting to have, or not even knowing how to have, original insight. And I think that when you ask students to write creatively and from their own lives, they may stumble on that. And again, that's extremely useful. Something else, when you're writing fiction, sometimes you have to look at things from multiple characters' perspectives. Sometimes when you're writing creative nonfiction, you're going to look at things from another person's perspective in your own life and try to consider other points of view. As Atticus Finch says in To Kill a Mockingbird, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Our county has recently been doing design thinking, which is a very practical program to come up with creative ideas and creative solutions to problems. The first step in it is empathy, looking at what your customer needs and looking at things from their point of view to figure out how to make things work for them. That's one of the things writing can do, is teach that kind of empathy. And again, it's practical, not just kind of warm and fuzzy thinking. So, and in fact, Robert Coles, the author of The Call of Stories, he taught fiction writing and reading novels and literature to surgeons, not because it would necessarily make them better at surgical technique, but because it would make them better surgeons, in the sense because they were being better human beings and more empathetic. The last thing that I think writing does is it teaches conceptual thinking. a lot of students have trouble making the connection between the big idea, the abstraction, and the specific detail. And that's what all good writing is about a big idea, a big theme, like prejudice and tolerance, or adventure, or heroism. Great stories and great writing, be they fiction or nonfiction, are about big ideas, but what they always do is connect the big idea to the specific detail. And that's a kind of thinking that's always useful in any field of human endeavor, because you're always going to have a big concept of some sort, maybe basic things that the big picture of what you want your house to look like when you're going to be building it, or the big idea of what you want to have your business do for people, but it always has to come down to the specific details that make it come to life. You can say you want your business to be a certain way in your mission statement, you can have these abstractions, but it's the specific actions and attitudes that make the mission statement true or false. You as a person can say you want to be a caring, moral, creative person, but it's your actions that bring those abstractions to life. So writing is about the specific details and the big ideas, but so is life. And I think we need to remember that writing is about life. And my big idea is this. I've used a lot of details about how writing has very practical applications, but the biggest application is this, that writing about what's personal, about your enthusiasms and your frustrations prepares you to be a better employee, a better citizen, a better parent, a better person. And there's not too many things more important than that.